Hi, welcome to Mixergy HQ. I'm Roy Fugler, Training Officer for Mixergy. Today we're going to be talking about setting the heat pump interface. So on this video we're going to look at setting up the heat pump interface based on what model of heat pump that you've fitted. For today's video we're actually in the boardroom at Mixergy, and it's a dummy cylinder. We're only interested not on the wiring, we're more interested in setting up the dip switches. So if you don't see any wires, that's the reason why. So I'm just going to remove the two screws. This is the Mark 1 interface, and we're going to carry on in this video. We're going to look at the Mark 2. There's a couple of differences and I'll talk about them when we look at the Mark 2. So both versions, it's just two screws to remove the cover, and again always make sure that the power is isolated before removing the covers. As I said, there's no wires on this one, so we don't need to worry about that. So we'll just take the cover off and pop it on top. So what we've got is a set of dip switches, and going from the top there's different manufacturers running down from top to bottom, and all we need to do is choose the manufacturer. And in this case I'm going to say it's an LG, and the easiest way I find, because like most plumbing and heating engineers, I've got adults' fingers, I haven't got little children's fingers. I tend to use the tip of my multimeter probe. So on the LG, it's the third one down from the top. So what we need to do is move both dip switches across. That will then set it up for an LG. Now, to confirm that I'm set up correctly, there are three connections down here: cold, common and hot, and I'm going to check the resistance across them. So I'm going to turn the multimeter on to ohms. I'm just going to put the light on, and then what we need to do is just go onto cold, up onto common, and we check the reading according to what it says in the spec, and we're getting 3.610K, so 3,610 ohms. That's within the tolerance that we're expecting. So I'm now going to check the hot, and that should be down round about 1,000 ohms. It's normally about 1,020, but it's within the tolerance that we're looking for. So we know we're set up now for the LG heat pump. So once everything's connected and wired up, that heat pump will work with the interface and it will work correctly. So we've done the Mark 1. This is the new Mark 2, slightly different. Again, the front just comes off with the two screws, which I've already removed just to make life easier. The difference is, as you'll see, we've got more tappets, or more dip switches. The reason for having more dip switches is that obviously there are more heat pumps about now than when the Mark 1 was brought out. So what we have in the instructions is the number of the dip switch, and whether it's the hot dip switch or the cold dip switch, whether it's on or off. Again, I'm going to use the LG as a reference for this, and again I'm going to use the multimeter probe just to set this up. So on the LG, if we look across, on number 1, that should be both on. So again, using the multimeter probe, just move those two to on. 2, again, both on. 3, only the hot is on. 4 are both off, 5 are both on. 6, off, on. 7, both on. 8, on, off. 9, both on. 10, both on. 11, both on. 12, both on. 13 and 14. Both on. Very similar to the Mark 1. Again, we can test to make sure we've got the correct resistance by checking between cold and common and hot and common. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put the multimeter back onto ohms, and again, because it's the LG, we should have similar readings to what we had on the Mark 1. So cold to common, we're looking at 3,605, which again is very close to what we had, and it's within the tolerance. So 3.605 kiloohms And now we're going to check the hot, which was around 1000 ohms, and we've got 1.023k. So again, we're within the correct readings. However, if you do get a wrong reading, for instance, open line, so I'm just going to move one of the tappets back to the off position. So I'm going to check the cold connections again. So cold to common, I've got the reading. Hot to common, I've got open circuit, open line. I'm not getting the reading. So I just go back to the manual, double check, and I can see that number 1 should be in the on position. If we're getting a false reading, and again, I've just moved one of the tappets again on the hot, what we'd find is, again, cold to common, we're correct, but now hot to common, we've got 7.83k, so 7,830 ohms. So again, we'd check which dip switch, we'd have a look in the instructions, and I know that number 9 needs to be in the on position. So again, when I recheck that one, I can see that I've got the correct reading of 1.023k.